the path to restoring health, freedom, and democracy in a divided world. In today's world, many of us are waking up to the troubling realization that the systems around us, political, economic, and social, are not serving the people. Rather, they are designed to benefit a select few, while the majority remains misinformed, distracted, and ultimately manipulated. This manipulation is a result of years of systemic decay, fueled by corporate greed, government policies that favor profit over people, and an education system that fails to empower the citizens of tomorrow. The foundation of this issue can be traced back to a few key elements: diet, media manipulation, and a weakened education system. Together, they create a cycle that keeps the public passive, uninformed, and ultimately more susceptible to the will of those in power. One of the most insidious ways in which society has been undermined is through the food we consume. In many Western countries, particularly the United States and somewhat in Canada, food manufacturers have been allowed to flood the market with processed, chemically-laden products. These foods, full of additives and preservatives, primarily carcinogenic sugar, are damaging our health and dulling our minds. It's no coincidence that mental clarity, emotional well-being, and cognitive function are often compromised when the body is overloaded with toxins. When we eat poorly, we cannot think clearly, and when we cannot think clearly, we become more easily manipulated. A healthy body is the foundation of a sound mind. If we are to break free from the cycle of manipulation, we must begin by reclaiming control over our diets and, in turn, our mental health. But this is not a simple task. It requires an overhaul of the policies that have allowed these toxic products to flood our markets. The first step in breaking this cycle is demanding that our leaders prioritize the health of their citizens over the interests of corporations. Parallel to the deterioration of our health is the steady decline of our education system. In many countries, particularly in the United States, the curriculum has been watered down, focusing more on conformity than on critical thinking. Students are not being taught how to question the status quo, how to think independently, or how to challenge the systems in place. Instead, they are taught to follow, to accept, and to remain passive. The result? A population that cannot grasp the full complexity of the political issues facing them. A population that is uninformed about the policies and leaders who will affect their futures. The average voter, unsure of what's at stake, may cast a ballot based on shallow sound bites or populist rhetoric, rather than on careful analysis or reflection. It is no wonder that so many people feel disconnected from the political process and that political decisions seem out of touch with the needs of the people. But there is hope. By advocating for a more rigorous, thought-provoking education system, one that fosters independent thinking and empowers students to make informed decisions, we can begin to reverse this trend. Talk with your kids and give them the key to becoming insightful, not just poorly educated. We have to stop this trend of brainwashing our young generation. We must demand that our leaders invest in an education system that prepares the next generation to think critically, understand complex issues, and participate fully in the democratic process. Understand the value of humility and compassion. In tandem with poor and poisoned diets and shallow education, we are constantly bombarded by media to be distracted. Mainstream news, social media platforms, and advertisements designed to distract, manipulate, and pacify us. Corporate interests control much of the media landscape, shaping narratives that serve their agendas. The result is a public that is overstimulated but under-informed. The constant flow of sensationalized news, coupled with the addictive nature of social media, keeps us distracted from the larger, more important issues of our time. We are encouraged to focus on trivial matters, to argue over partisan issues, rather than to engage in meaningful discussions about how to build a better, more just society. Our minds, dulled by constant distraction, are less likely to question authority or to demand change. The solution lies in reclaiming our attention. We must demand more transparent, independent media sources, and we must hold those in power accountable for the narratives they push. We must also embrace the power of community and grassroots movements that can provide an alternative to the corporate-controlled media landscape. The way forward is clear. but it will require effort. It begins with each of us taking responsibility for our own health and well-being, making conscious choices to nourish our bodies and minds. We must demand that our governments implement policies that prioritize public health, clean food, and the environment over corporate profit. We must call for an education system that fosters critical thinking, that empowers students to understand the world around them, and that prepares them to participate fully in democracy. At the same time, we must demand change in the media landscape, supporting independent journalism and holding corporations accountable for their influence over the narratives we consume. Finally, we must seek out leaders, whether local or national, who prioritize the well-being of the people over corporate interests, who are committed to justice, liberty, and humanity, and who are willing to enact policies that restore health, freedom, and democracy to the people. The task ahead is monumental, but it is not insurmountable. If we come together, united by a vision of a healthier, more just society, we can break the cycle of manipulation by starting to educate our kids at home, using our buying power to stop supporting companies that produce harmful food, and actively participating in the democratic process. If there is no suitable candidate, go to the voting booth, cross out all names, and demand that the ballot include community leaders and individuals who genuinely prioritize the well-being of citizens, not just a select few backed by corporations and lobbyists. Awakening ourselves and our children and not neglecting our healthcare are the first crucial steps. It won't be easy. Years of neglect and allowing our system to be hijacked will require hard work and dedication. But if life, love, and humility matter, then the effort is worth it and create a future where the people are empowered, informed, and free. Shasha, 2025. Trusting that we are enabled and will take action before it becomes too late.